I'm so excited for this episode of my podcast and to have such a special guest who has been my longtime friend, someone who actually introduced me to my entire career at this point, and someone who really introduced me to another way of living, which I didn't even know existed. I was so much in my 3D world, very much doing my day-to-day job, climbing the corporate ladder, hustling, until I came across your manifestation videos, Michelle, and I'll introduce you in a sec. But I just wanted to start off by saying how influential you have been in my life, and now I'm so grateful to say that you are one of my best friends, and I watch your videos every single week. They are so uplifting. They're so just I wish that more people were watching it because it's um, just when you're feeling like, wanting to give up or feeling like you are not being able to see what is coming next, just raising your vibration by watching your videos is a beautiful way to kind of lead your weeks forward, your readings, your manifestations videos, everything. I love it. And I've introduced your channel to many other people as well. My sister watches it. So yeah, without talking a lot more, I will just let Michelle talk because um Michelle has such an amazing life story, and I don't know anyone else who has who has been through such adversity in life and come out of it as the most resilient, as the most wonderfully positive person. Because yeah, after everything that you've been through and to teach what you have gone through and then to help other people, it's truly remarkable. I have never met anyone like that. So yeah, Michelle, please let us know what you do exactly, and I'm sure your words will be better than I explain it this time. So I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I just want to say thank you for that lovely opening. And I feel the same about you. I love watching your readings on YouTube and I love being able to watch you transform. It's one of my favorite things as a coach is seeing women go from whether it was fear or doubt or nervousness or wondering whether I can take a leap. And that's something I admire about you is you've taken so many leaps of faith. And I've never even left New Jersey. I've gone through a lot of hard things, but it's unique how so many of us have different, soul challenges or karmic loops, I like to call them, where our soul signs up for these lessons. And it's like, I think for me, one of my lessons was to build a business, to leave my teaching career. So, and I think for you, it was something geographical, like you going to another country, learning a new language, chasing your dreams, and then all of a sudden having this spiritual awakening and pivoting. Like that's so admirable. Not a lot of people are brave enough to do that. So it's so cool. Like you admire me for my experiences. I admire you for your experiences. And I love learning about other people. And that's why I think podcasts are freaking awesome because just watching two people connect, you get like, it's one thing to watch us on YouTube, right? We're just by ourselves doing our thing. But when you see other people interact with other people, you really get to feel like their heart and how they, their body language, their facial expressions on how they're responding and stuff. I always think you get a real glimpse of who somebody is watching them in conversation and how they respond. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to do this with you. We've become besties, like to see, like now looking back at how we've progressed into our friendship, we've gone through phases of texting each other every morning, like, how do you feel today? What's going on today? What's the energy? Any signs today, to going periods of time where we're both in our healing and we're just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, we haven't talked to each other in like a few weeks, got to check in. But friendships like yours are gold. And I encourage all women listening to this right now to put energy into your friendships. And, I believe we'll attract what we are, right? With what we both teach on our channels is that just become the woman you want to be best friends with. And then she'll show up, and more will show up too. But yeah, I started my career as a teacher, went through a tough loss. I lost my daughter in 2012, which was super life changing and gut wrenching and a really, really hard time. It'll be 13 years this summer. So I'm able to talk about it without crying now. I've done all my healing and I still cry, but her birthday is July 13th. So she'll be 13 on the 13th. But she passed from a muscle disorder. And I spiritually awakened. Shortly after that, I started getting into self growth, wasn't really into manifestation yet. So it was 2012 when she was born, when she passed. And I have more stories about her on my channel. So if you guys want to listen or read more, head over to my Instagram or to YouTube and you can hear the whole story there. And then I'd say in like 2018, I don't know what sparked it to think about it. I remember it was December and I just felt like I was awakening on a whole nother level. I was meditating twice a day for like 45 minutes, wanting to connect and wanting to listen to my thoughts and quiet my ego. I started Reiki back then. I took level 2 Reiki. I did level 1, level 2. And then I decided to leave my teaching job after my dad passed away in 2021 and took a really big leap of faith. Started YouTube January 1st of 2022, committed to making a video every day until I was monetized or until whatever. I just didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of exploring. And then one day I made a manifestation sign video and it kind of popped off. I went from like 40 subscribers to like 900 to then like 2000 to 3 and
Wow.
now I'm still growing. So it's been a fast journey, but a slow journey. But all of those experiences opened me up to the magic, which is what we're here to talk about today, which I'm excited to dive into, of
Yeah.
just trusting, like what you said earlier, when life feels like it's crashing down, there's a purpose to it. There's a reason for it. And all of my transitions, whether it was losing my daughter, losing my dad, leaving my job, going through breakups, ripping out patterns of toxic behaviors that I had in the past, healing our family line, all of that is really, really hard, but there's a beautiful rainbow on the other side of it. We just, while we're in it, it doesn't feel that way. And I feel like my channel has transformed me and is there to help other people transform just by watching the video, like raising your vibration or feeling good after you watch it, or me comforting you, letting you know that, hey, this breakdown in your life right now, it's leading to something better.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, if you were to like take a snapshot of what I feel called to do here on this planet, I think it's that. I think it's just reminding people that they're safe and that something good is always happening. There's miracles always happening, and we just have to open up our eyes, ears, and hearts to actually see it.
Yeah.
And that's why I love signs so much. So, and my daughter sends me hearts everywhere I go. So
Yeah.
Alvi has found her fair share of hearts. Her sisters have. I have. Anybody I come in contact with, Micah starts to send them hearts. So I live for the magic, and I love talking about manifestation. So let's dive in.
Incredible. Yeah, that was incredibly explained. And I think I remember 3 years ago when I was living in Germany and I was by myself and then I had come across your video and you had talked about signs and I didn't know much about it at that time. I didn't know what you meant by noticing signs. And then I remember I was just walking back from the gym one evening and I saw a heart and I was like, oh my gosh, Michelle talked about this. And then I felt instantly lit up, even though it wasn't my sign necessarily, but like seeing that. And I sent you the image, and I felt like, wow, it's like such a beautiful way to pass on that love or that just let people see that the connection of the connection to the universe exists by simply us in being in mundane moments, just walking back from the gym. I'm probably like in my thoughts, just like trying to probably looping certain same thoughts, and then you see the sign, it wakes you up. And I think that's where I found your sign videos really, really useful to just help me get into that present moment. And I find this incredible that you started your business and how it's grown and that it's reached women or people all around the world who are also noticing those signs and they're sending you from like different parts of the world. Yeah, which is so incredible. And yeah, I do want to dive into it because I'm sure everyone listening is wanting to know, okay, what do the signs mean? How do I manifest? So I did prepare some questions, and one of the questions that I want to ask is, we always have this like feeling that we're either seeing signs. Well, actually, let's dive into what are the signs, What I'm sure we've seen in mainstream media, like there's 11:11 going around, and what do all of these things mean? So anyone who's been spotting it, they're seeing, um, whether that's on the clock anytime they check their phone, and they're like, oh my gosh, but what does this mean, and what are the signs?
So I think there's some universal signs
Hmm.
that we all can see. And then I think there's some personal signs for everybody, and they have their unique little thing, whether it's a loved one that's crossed over that, I just looked out my window and I have a little planter box and there's a cute little like flamingo, kind of like a little plant thing you stick in. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah,
But it's a cute little flamingo in my planter box. And I was just like, that's an example about how a flamingo could be really meaningful to somebody over here, but to me, it might not mean anything.
yeah,
But so we have to tune into like, okay, when I see something and my heart and my body and my mind immediately go, that's a sign, that's a sign. So if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, I don't know if I'm getting signs from my loved one or from God or from the universe. I always say, if you're thinking it's a sign, then it's a sign. If you're having the thought, then it's that. But I would say the universal signs are the angel numbers, 333, 777, 888. And, you can chat it, you can Google it, and you'll see what the meanings are of it. I have my own personal meetings. I made a deck of cards in memory of my daughter, and I use those angel numbers in the deck because when I do readings for people and I pull that card, like I want to teach them about the numbers, and it's easier to learn through a deck of cards, and people can buy my deck and then they can learn on their own what the numbers mean. I always see 333 as like connecting back to spirit. Like it's almost like God knocking on your door saying, hey, remember me? Don't forget about me. Go meditate, go take a walk in nature, connect back to me. And that's usually a sign that somebody's too much in their head.
yeah.
So I like to see signs as they can help us pause in the moment. Like you said, the heart made you feel good. I believe that's what they're there for. I think it's our angels and guides just walking with us on our path every day. And if we're in a low state or if we're thinking a negative thought or we're looping and suffering,
Mm.
I think they throw a sign in front of us to pivot us and to say, hey, choose a better thought right now.
Yeah.
And my guides just reminded me of that the day that, remember, you were like traveling and you were in a city and there was like all this chaos and you texted me or DM'd me and you're just like, I just saw like a negative interaction. Was it a motorcycle or something?
Yeah, yeah. So like
What
a
was
right.
that?
Yeah, I remember like I had gone to London, and then I just saw like this guy on his bike almost hit a cyclist, and then they both got off their the bike and the cycle, and then they were like just kind of like arguing and really loud, and I was like, wow, I just came out of the train station and I just noticed this, and I'm just like, what is going on? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember texting you then.
And we had just been talking about shifting and how quickly, like if we're in a negative state or looping or we're just like feeling blah, we will attract that
Mm,
because I believe the universe is loving us and it's like, hey, babe, you're in a different vibe right now. And I'm going to show you it by attracting this chaos because our reality is reflecting our inner world. So these signs can be redirections. We can see chaos as a sign too.
mm,
And if anything, if you're in a store and people are fighting, if like just verbally having an argument, you have to ask yourself, wow, why did I attract that today? Like I am always asking myself that question, but it doesn't happen often. A lot of times I'm attracting loving people, people opening the door for me. And it's because my inner world exudes that. At least I do my best to do that. And that's what my daughter taught me was to appreciate the moment, appreciate kindness, compassion, be the example, and you'll manifest. Your life will just become a magical unfolding of kindness.
yeah.
So the more kind we are and the more compassionate we are, the more we'll attract people that are kind and compassionate to us. But the signs could be angel numbers, they could be spirit animals. On my morning drive, it's like a meditation for me. I just get out of my head, put on some music. I might see a fox run by my car in the morning. I might see 3 deer. I might see a blue jay or a cardinal. And every morning I ask my guides and angels to bring me what I need to hear. So we can also ask for these signs when we're in despair, when we need to make a big decision in our life. We can be specific and say, Spirit, bring me 3 frogs by Wednesday, and make them come in the most magical way possible. Like make it not obvious. And they'll do that and they'll bring you signs. One time I was teaching and I asked for that, and a student came up to my desk and literally dropped their keys, like their lanyard with their school ID. They just dropped it on my desk and they were over my shoulder looking at how to do an assignment. And I looked at their keys and there was a stinking frog as their keychain.
Oh,
And I just
wow.
smiled and I said, that's too funny. And then later that day, it was like fifth period, it was right after lunch. A student came to my office in like the fitness area. It was a girl came in and she's like, Miss Thornton, can you double check this PowerPoint that I have for my English class? Or can I go on and like just double check it before I have to present next period? I was like, yeah, sure. So she brings it up, and what's on the first slide? A huge frog. And
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, there's number
Yeah.
two. So that's how spirit works. Like if you ask for the sign, it'll come in such unique ways. And I live for these podcasts and these stories and these books where people give examples of
Yeah.
how the signs show up. That's why I started making my videos, because it just, you can't make it up. It's so glaringly obvious that it's from source or from God or from my daughter. And we can ask and it can just show up. But I believe they can be redirections.
Mm.
They can remind us, like your situation, seeing the chaos in the street. You quickly shifted. You shifted so fast that day, and you
Yeah.
manifested the most loving interaction with another woman who, like, didn't she like put her hand on you to protect you? Or, like, I don't know what she did. I forget.
Yeah, I remember after seeing that, I was a bit shaken up because the guy, like, they were so loud and like, I don't know, I was like, I remember thinking that day, like, why am I in London? Like, the loop was like carrying on, and then I was like walking on literally London Bridge, and I was like walking
That's
across
funny.
it. Yeah, and this woman like bumps into me and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And then we both laugh and we're like, she's like holding my hand and I'm holding like her arm. And then she's like, "Oh," like, we just laughed it off. And then she walked past and then I instantly felt like, "Oh my God, I needed that. I just needed exactly that. Just that, almost like a touch, like, oh, that's not the only person that exists, who were fighting that I've witnessed. There's also other people who are just really kind and loving, and it was interesting that from that small interaction, the previous interaction, like watching those two people fight, my mind like created a whole another scenario. I'm not meant to be here. Like this is, why did I decide this and that? And as soon as I got to the lady, I was like, oh, everything's fine, actually. Like I just, I had such a yeah, beautiful interaction and pull myself together. So I thought that was a really beautiful contrasting experience and then suddenly shifted and yeah, made me realize how like quickly reality can change just by
Mhm.
changing our thoughts and kind of listening to the signs around you.
Yeah. And also being supported. I see it as your nervous system just got a quick jolt of fear. And it
Yeah,
was like God in the universe swooped in real fast and gave you that woman to give you physical touch
yeah,
to say, got you, you're okay, you're safe, you don't need to hold that fear anymore, you know?
yeah,
And to me, those moments, they build faith, because no matter how chaotic your day can get, whether you're in control, like you weren't in control of that situation, it just showed up in your reality in front of you. And I love that, because now I could, now I, and I hope you feel that same way too. Like now you can walk down any street,
yeah,
anything can happen, and you know that a woman like that or a energy of love can quickly follow, or your angels and guides can help you avoid an accident. They can move a car out of the way, they can move you out of the way. So I always see like those little energy shifts of like, oh wow, I just attracted that, but did I attract it or was it meant to be? Not over analyzing it, but just knowing, okay, I don't have to let that energy linger in my nervous system. I can quickly shift and something magical can happen in an instant. And that goes along with the theme of this podcast, is like how we don't have to stay in suffering. Something amazing could be right around the corner and we just can't see it.
yeah,
And I believe the signs are beacons and breadcrumbs saying, hold faith, hold the line. If you see an 1111, the next day you might get a job opportunity. But
yeah,
it's everybody's job to track their own signs. And I'm a big advocate for a desk calendar
yeah.
or using your notes app on your phone to track the signs that you see, on what day you see it, how often you see it.
Mm.
And some of my favorite signs that we haven't talked about yet are like matching words. Like you'll be thinking a thought and then you'll be in a grocery store, and the minute you think the thought, somebody's saying the same sentence out loud in front of you. Or you're talking on the phone with your mom or your sister or someone, and then a song on the radio says the same word at the same time.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite. Are they your favorite too?
Yeah, I love them. I remember one time, and it's so funny because I have this one deck, and I was doing a tarot reading for a client back in Germany, and I have this deck which literally just has like sentences. It's like direct messages. So I use it to supplement my tarot decks. So it's kind of like your Michael Magic deck, and
Mhm.
it just says like things like uh, time for reflection, redirection, take a walk. It's like direct messages. And I was doing this client reading, and one of the messages that came up, and I was a bit confused at that time. It said on it "staying alive," and I was like, "Are you like, are you all right?" And she was like, "Yeah, like, that's funny." And I thought maybe it's to do with like, being in survival mode, so she just needs to relax a little bit. Um, so, and then I was like, yeah, I was wondering, gosh, yeah, like, normally with tarot and anything, it's always guidance. It's always very messages that are there for your highest good rather than like any kind of fear instilling. And that's the whole point of like, getting cards and really kind of working with the universe. And so I took a walk afterwards, went out, in Berlin city center. And I come onto this out into this market, and the song "Staying Alive," like so it's playing, and I'm just there like, no way. What are
Oh,
the odds? And like, I truly felt like, I don't know whether my client heard that song as well. I think it was that exact moment, like me going there in that city center, which I wasn't planning. I just was going for a random walk to like cleanse after every client session, and I just ended up in this market where I don't normally go, and I hear the song, and I'm like, no, that's what it meant. And I was just like, and when you think like, who do I tell about this? Like, what do I tell people? And I remember my entire like day afterwards was just great. Like I just felt so lit up. I was like, gosh, I don't know what just happened, but that felt like magic.
hmm I
Yeah.
was watching, I'm not sure what video it was, but they were talking about, and I really connected to it because just because of my daughter and my dad passed and my daughter passed. And they say like being here on planet Earth is like being in a foxhole
Yeah.
and you're like away from home. You're not in your home, right? You're away from your home, but you're in this like this other thing and it can be dark and it can be scary and you're just like and you have no way there's like no walkie talkie there's like no way to communicate with the outer with the people that have crossed over or heaven or our home and we're just so homesick and we really want to go back and those signs are like a big bright light in that hole and it gives you this feeling like they're communicating with us. It's like you have a walkie-talkie and like your loved one just said, I love you.
Yeah.
You've heard their voice and you haven't heard them since you got to planet Earth. To me, that's what the signs feel like. It feels like direct communication from home.
Yeah.
And it's what we need. It's like it keeps us going because we're here for a temporary stay, even though it feels like an eternity some days through grief, through sadness, through struggle and challenges.
Yeah.
But that sign could literally, like you said, it infused you with juice and energy. And you were just like, I can
Yeah.
keep going. Like that was such a cool sign.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I relied on those signs to keep me alive after my daughter passed. Like it was so painful. And I was just on go mode as a teacher, showing up, teaching nutrition, teaching, later meditation and mindfulness to high school kids. And I would be the bubbly, fun Michelle, the teacher that was always energetic and active. But I would go home and I'd be exhausted, and I would go home alone and I was single and I still am single and didn't have any more kids. And it just felt like, what's the point anymore? And then I'd be making dinner and my broccoli would be in the shape of a heart or something.
Yeah.
And then it was like that energy. I could feel like a surge of energy, like, no, keep going, keep going. Like, there's more to do here. You're not supposed to leave yet?
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how many times seeing hearts saved my life,
Yeah.
or I would be crying in front of my mirror, doing a lot of mirror work for anyone grieving. Mirror work is a great tool. Sit in front of the mirror naked, look at yourself in the eyes, and acknowledge every pain, every struggle, and truly see yourself.
Hmm.
Well, one time I was doing this, probably like my thousandth time doing it in like 13 years. I'm sitting there crying and my phone lights up. And it's somebody from like another country, like you said. Now that I'm on YouTube and people know my story, they see the hearts and they think of me or they think of Micah, and then they feel called to share it. Some people don't share it right away.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take the photo and then like a week later, they're like, oh, I never sent that to Michelle. Well, it was one of those situations and my phone lit up and it was somebody who had a delayed response, but it was the timing of it was so perfect because I was in my feels crying for my daughter,
Mm.
sitting in front of the mirror, acknowledging the pain. And here she is showing up in my phone as a heart from a person on YouTube, and I'm just like, this is wild how like she can hear me, she can see me, she can see I'm struggling right now and she's sending help, you
Yeah.
know? So I honestly can't tell you how many times in 13 years I wish I would have tracked every single one, but it would have been like, I'm telling you, it would be like 500,000 by now. That's how many hearts I've gotten from people.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's just proof that there's something out there, whether you believe it's God, the universe, our loved ones,
yeah.
they're with us, they're helping us, they're always sending us what we need, and we can ask them for help.
Yeah.
And signs, that's why I love signs, and that's
Yeah.
why I'll never stop looking for them. I'll never stop because they're direct communication with home.
Yeah.
And who
Yeah.
doesn't want to always be in touch with their home, their favorite place?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. That is beautiful. And I think yeah, the home one really resonates because I was living in the foreign country and when I would see signs, that was also like my way of like, when I'm like missing family or like missing, that feeling of home because my entire family is in the UK and also in India, so I was living in Germany at the time. I was like, oh, I felt like, it was just so much more easier to like just step through the days, where I'm like, oh, I wish they were here, I was closer to them or things like that. It just, yeah, it does help. It really does help noticing the signs. One of the other things that the signs really help with, which I noticed was, and I literally got all of these from your videos, was manifestation. And I'm so excited to talk about that because I'm sure our listeners are also wondering, like, how do you know if like the signs are indicating manifestation is coming, what can we expect from it? And also perhaps like how to not overthink it, because I'm sure that's also something we can step into and like start looking for signs like, um, oh, manifestation, why isn't it here, But how do we find that subtle balance of like noticing, oh, these are the signs for manifestations? Yeah.
So I would say building the connection with yourself and spirit and the universe and God. So the desk calendar idea
Mm.
of tracking it. So I would always track like, oh my gosh, I saw two hearts today, or two people sent me hearts today on like a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And then Thursday, I would have like intense anxiety for no reason. And my diet was really clean. I wasn't drinking caffeine then. And it was just like, this anxiety shouldn't be here. Like, why is this here? Is this a gut issue? Or is it just something happening in the universe letting me know? It's shaking me, letting me know that something great is on the way and to not let it get into my head. So I would learn this cycle. So for me, it happens in cycles. We will go through these series of events right before manifestation arrives. It's cyclical, it always happens. And for me, some of these things are people from my past coming back around.
Mm.
I might get the matching words. I might have anxiety one day. I might have a flat tire or something breaking down as like a little test, and it's clearing space. It's clearing out fear in my body because anybody is in fear when they get a flat tire, right? You're just immediately like, oh no, what do I do? I got to fix this. I got to get somebody to help me. I got to pay for it. So you're clearing out, excuse me, you're clearing out all the fear. And I believe our ascension journey is that we're just here
Yeah.
to release fear and to remember love and to keep coming back to love. And we will keep attracting situations to show us where we're not free. It shows us our fear. And I
Mm.
believe before a manifestation comes in, our vessel has to be prepared. We
Yeah.
have to be open to receiving it and we have to be able to hold it. So, if everyone listening can think about whatever you want to manifest right now, if you're asking the universe for it, you're journaling, maybe you're doing an imaginal act before you go to bed, you're seeing yourself in your dream house. Well, at some point, your nervous system has to know that that's normal for you.
Yeah.
It has to feel normal for you to hold it. If it feels too outlandish and like thinking about like if $1 million feels too big for you, then it won't come because your nervous system can't hold it. And even if a dream partner, a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, I'm not ready. My body's not ready. My bank account's not ready for this person. Well, that's your nervous system saying it won't come in because we have to work on that. It has to feel normal, has to feel natural. And if we can get familiar with when, practicing small manifestations with like, manifesting $20. Ask the universe on a Monday, universe, could you please bring me $20 in the most magical way this week? Please bring it to me before Friday. And you be very specific and you just ask freely like it's a game. Like there's not that much weight to $20, right? It's not like a million. There's not a lot of energy towards it. Well, see how it comes in, see what signs you get the day before it comes, track it all, and then say, okay, that was my first experience with manifesting something.
Yeah.
And now we take that, and I think we've had these conversations where we take that and then we go a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And you go bigger. And then you build and build your faith because now you know how it works. And like I said, I always see people from my past. Like the other day, my neighbor who moved out like a year ago, she just randomly texted me and was just like, hey, how are you? And then she sent me a song, the Alex Warren song, Ordinary. And I was just like, why is she sending me that song? That's so random. Like, there's no like, she didn't say like, I love the song or I thought of you with the song. She just like sent the song. So I was like, all right, universe, I see everything as the universe talking to me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's like a love song. I was like, maybe I'm getting married soon. Maybe I'm going to meet my person. So I just jotted it down. And then I saw so many hearts the day after. So I wrote them down. And I'm just getting familiar with how life is communicating with me and not attaching. Like you said, it was really important what you said. Like, how do we not overthink it? And I believe once it's written down,
Mm.
we have it on paper, we can see, okay, if nothing shows up, then great. That was all cute signs to make me feel good,
Yeah.
to make me feel connected to home. And I love being talked to. So please keep talking to me because I love you guys. Because sometimes people can get really ungrateful and they can look at signs as it's toying with me. It's not fair. Like my manifestation's not coming up and it's not happening. But what if that was a loved one trying to talk to you? And what if it wasn't about your manifestation? What if it was just love? And you're totally disregarding it, and your ego is so focused on achieving something or getting money when we're here to really experience love. So I think you have to like go through the process of learning your own language with the
Mm.
universe. What does it look like? What does it sound like? And feel the energies. And then when something drops in, a lot of people don't notice a drop in until days later. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I think I manifested this. I forgot I wrote this like 6 weeks ago. That happens a lot to people. I'm sure it's happened to you.
Yeah.
Um, I remember when you manifested your apartment in Berlin,
Yeah.
uh, and you literally were so specific. You were talking about the sunlight, you were talking about the wood floors, right? And the bathtub, and you got it all.
Yeah. I think everything you described about like the nervous system expansion is so accurate because that that flat was close to a miracle because I remember I couldn't believe it that how easily it came. And there were all these signs, synchronicities, actually mad amount of signs and synchronicities um that I started to notice, but I didn't know what would come, like what would arrive at in the end. And when it did, I started like looking back and I was thinking like, wow, everything has literally led up to this exact manifestation. And I remember even prior to that, getting that apartment, I had been offered by a friend her old apartment, which was in another city. And I said, okay, well, maybe this is the next path, let's just see. Like maybe I'm not expanded enough yet, so maybe this will be a stepping stone. So I remember I went to view this apartment and it was nice. It was very beautiful. And I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. I can try and see how I fit in. And then the next day, the apartment, I didn't get it actually. And there were some issues with some sort of like landlord deposit and stuff. And I was like, and she said it's going to take longer, So then I thought, oh, okay, well, I was kind of like, getting excited for this opportunity, even though I had asked for much, much more, something much bigger. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe let's just see what's going to happen. And I remember after that viewing that I did, 2 weeks later, I went on a vacation and I was in Portugal and it was just great. I was just loving it, you know. And then I came back that same week. Um, I had put out an ad before the vacation that I'm looking for an apartment just on Instagram actually. I just posted to all my friends like, oh yeah, if anyone finds an apartment. And that week I got a message from a friend of mine, and yeah, he basically said, I don't know if this is like of any use. I just came across this ad on Facebook and maybe it's of interest. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll see, you know. It almost felt like how like I just believed like it can't come that easily, you know, so I may as well just view it. And I went there and I felt like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, and I met the people, like the landlord of the place, you know, and one of the guys there, he was also a healer himself, so we really connected. And you know, they had like he was from Mexico, so they had like these oh, I forget the names of them, like loads of like protection kind of like dream catchers, but like loads of like protection. Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what the names are. And they were displayed like around the apartment. The apartment was just incredible. Like it was so spacious. I had never felt freedom and just independence to this level. And I remember being there and just feeling like I have my space where I can do just, you know, just be myself fully. And it, despite being in like literally just across from like one of the busiest streets, it was quiet in the flat. It was next to a park. It was next to a tube station, like so I can get metro everywhere. It was beyond like what I could have imagined. And that came in like when I got really specific, when I got clearer through just information that I was getting, but also you're right, kind of like tracking the signs and actually also tuning up the noise because there were people around me who were just kind of like one person literally said to me like, yeah, good luck. It's not easy to find an apartment in Berlin because of gentrification and you know just apartment prices going up and you have to apply usually. You have to be interviewed to get an apartment and all these things. And I was like, oh gosh, I did nothing. I did none of those things. And
Mhm.
um, and yeah, when it came, I just felt like I felt like, you know, the lucky girl syndrome. Like I was like, I have it, you know, or you know, even if I didn't believe it, that one experience has now set me up, has expanded my nervous system so much that it's set me up for any future manifestations. So it's set me up that okay, if that was done in that way and where I followed the science and like, you know, um trusted that okay, this is where I'm meant to go, try this, even though, you know, I couldn't tell whether the apartment was right from the images and stuff, you know. Could have just been like, oh, I don't know, it's not exactly what it thought it would be, but it was much more when I went there. Yeah, so I think that was a yeah, thanks for mentioning that because that was a beautiful experience and it really was like expanding my nervous system and not listening to people around me who were projecting their own experiences and fears.
Yeah. Yep. And you were so spot on because you said earlier that that now is an experience that you can tap into. So with manifestation, we want to tap into the feelings that we want to experience. And
Mm.
if we've never really manifest anything that we're aware of, you know, I think we're all manifesting in every moment, but when it's something that you consciously create and then you see it materialize, that is a whole different feeling. That is a whole feeling of confidence, faith, trust. And then you can see what happened before it. And you don't have to track the signs. I just find joy in it because it keeps me in the present moment. It keeps me grateful. It keeps me connected to love. And then my life just becomes this magical in the moment all the time. And these moments just build. And then when something drops in, it's even cooler because it's like, oh, thanks guys for telling me it was coming, you know? And for you to have that experience, now you can kind of bundle it up and go refuel it anytime you're wanting to manifest something else. And I think you were spot on too with saying that that expanded your nervous system. And I remember, I hope you're okay with me using all of your examples as all of your experiences as examples, but
Yeah.
it's helpful. I think it's people to hear like
Yeah.
tangible stuff. I remember your fear creeping in. Um, I don't know if it was your fear or maybe before you got the interpreter to read the contract,
Yeah.
manifested somebody to interpret the contract, to translate it for you and like look at it, and you trusted them. But I remember you had like a moment of like, is this real? Like, is this too good to be true? Can I trust this? Because that's what happens. It's so good
Yeah.
that we feel like we're either not worthy of it because we're not used to getting that kind of queen treatment.
Yeah.
And that's the expansion of the nervous system. So in that moment when we feel that like, wait, can I trust this? Because it'll drop in. And then the test of whether our nervous system can hold it will be if we have a thought that says, is this true? Can I have this?
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's the part that a lot of my clients struggle with is they get manifestations all the time, but they self-sabotage it. They don't go with it, or they find an excuse of why it's not going to work and it's not perfect. Um, and then in some cases, it is the 80 percenter. It's like the birds before land, you know? You think something comes in and you think it's the manifestation, but something feels off about it. It's a test. You
Yeah.
know, it's like a breadcrumb. You're getting closer. It's not quite the 100%. So hold the faith. Don't say yes to something just because it arrived. See how your body feels, and then move forward and trust that your 100%er will come. Um, and that's my favorite thing to teach and to guide women in, is navigating that spiritual path. And I've had so much fun watching your path because you've traveled so much, you've done so many different things that you've allowed life to work through you. But when we stay at home and we don't really do anything and we don't take action and we don't walk through our fear,
Yeah.
manifestations don't happen as big and as fun because you're not expanding your nervous system to receive something big and fun. You're staying in your comfort zone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, big piece.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. And I think one of the things that I notice with a lot of other people as well, um, that right before a manifestation arrives, there's just this like there's there's steps where you mentioned like anxiety, and then there's certain signs and all these things. But right before it arrives, I notice that it's always this calmness. There's just this like level of calmness where you're almost like just living, and but you're content. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does that what does that energetically mean, maybe, or what is going on in that phase? Because I think that has happened actually with any big manifestations in my life. And yeah, what is happening there energetically, perhaps, or yeah,
So a lot of people say when they get the manifestation, why, Michelle, why don't I feel as joyful?
yeah,
I am not as excited as I thought I'd be. And a lot of times it's because we feel the excitement prior to, we're intuitive. We
mm,
can feel things coming before they arrive. So we're feeling that joy or excitement on a Wednesday or Thursday. We're feeling like amped up for no reason. Like, why do I feel so good?
yeah,
And then all of a sudden on a Saturday, boom, here comes the apartment you need or the job opportunity. And because we don't feel so good, we question it. That's when the ego jumps in.
yeah,
But the calm feeling, maybe on the Friday before the Saturday, is the knowing that it's done. Like your system knows, your soul knows that it's done, and it's like it's already here, but it's not here yet. So it doesn't make sense. So people question, like, why do I feel so peaceful today? I feel like I don't even want the $1 million anymore. It's because you've worked on your subconscious so much that it's now impressed, and you're kind of like good, you're like moved on. You're like, oh, the car's already in the garage that I've been manifesting. Like, what are we going to do next? Like, what's the next thing we want to create for our family or our friends or our experiences? So I always like to see it as that. Like, if you're manifesting a car, that calm feeling is like the car's in the garage. You got it. And now we just wait for it to materialize. And it's that knowing that it's done. And I believe, and even in the last year, I've learned more. So I've been teaching manifestation for 8 years, but only on YouTube for 4 years? No, three. 2022 is when I started. and certainty. Like if you can hold that faith on the day that you have anxiety or a moment of breakdown when say your roof is leaking and you're like, and then your kid comes home from school and they have a broken leg and you're like, what is going on in my reality? Why is everything crumbling? And if you, in those moments, if people can hold the faith and say, I am certain that, you know, maybe it's connected, maybe it's not, but I know that life isn't meant to always be like this,
Yeah.
that this is creating space in my nervous system. This is creating space in my home. It's literally bringing me a better roof.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the certainty of knowing that in any chaotic moment, in any breakdown, in any traffic jam, it is for you. You're totally taken care of, and like you with the chaotic moment on the street, like you're protected. There's always going to be somebody that's going to come and give you a hug. The universe is always going to hug you through money, through a beautiful interaction with somebody. And I think the calmness is we know it's already here.
Yeah.
Now it's like the eye of the storm. Now we just let the tornado kind of bring it to us in a fast manner. And you'll see a lot of times it's like, it's not fireworks when the manifestation arrives. It's like, wait, is this it? Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is so cool. And some days it is it, you know. I
Yeah.
went to my friend's house this weekend and she texted me and was like, hey, we're going to order food. You know, pick out what you want. We'll order it for you. So I went in the menu. I ordered what I got, or I sent my order. And then she was like, hey, I'm going to go to a Whole Foods, like health food store around here. What kind of chips or what do you want? And I was just like, oh, I'm a chips and guac girl, like anything gluten-free chips and guac, you know? And then you know, put my phone down, then I come inside to get ready and I'm on the drive going, oh man, I should have told her to get Siete chips because they're like my favorite chips with guac. But I didn't want to be high maintenance, but I was like, oh, I should have told her, you know? Well, I get there. What's on the counter?
Oh, wow.
Siete. And
Yeah.
I told her, I was going to tell you to buy these. And she's like, it's funny. I've never bought them before. And she just felt intuitively led to buy them. So I love those kind of, you know, those manifestations do feel like fireworks to me
Yeah.
because it's instantly getting what you want. Like you can think a thought and then it can just show up in your reality. So
Yeah.
I don't really experience like a calm before the storm for that kind of stuff, but for big manifestations, there's definitely a cycle of energies that flow through our system so that we're prepared to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I totally relate, even with the small manifestations when it instantly there, you're kind of like, wow, it just happened. It's
Mhm.
like you didn't have any resistance to it coming because you're like, oh, well, it's just, um,
Yeah.
kind of like, you're like, oh, well, never mind, you're okay either way. And then when it arrives, you're
Mhm.
like, wow, actually, it just feels like a reminder, like the small instances feel like a reminder that big things can also come just in the similar way.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I really like about the small instances. They are the kind of like stepping stones to the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of, do you remember when I manifested that $25,000 in a check form?
Yeah, that was incredible.
Share that real fast because I feel like that was like a quick way to do it. That was like
Yeah.
an expedited, it was like December, it was a third week in December. And I just was feeling tired. I was feeling overworked. So I took a whole 2 weeks off from my sessions. I told all of my clients, like, sorry, I can't text you. I can't communicate. I need a full nervous system break. I was just hitting my breaking point. And I was kind of scared. I was like, what's happening to me? Like, I'm not as invigorated on my calls. But at that time of year, now I know that always happens to me. So I took 2 weeks off. I changed up all of my routines. So this is a method that you guys all can try to quickly manifest something big.
Hmm.
So, and maybe all of you can't take off of work. I understand. I did not have a big savings at that time. So it was a huge nervous system, like scary moment for me that I was literally trusting my guides and my angels and taking off, trusting the money would come. And the
Yeah.
money did arrive. So it was even cooler. So unaware that this $25,000 was coming a few short weeks later, I took 2 weeks off, was in the abyss, the unknown, not knowing what to do. Was just like, you know what? I'm just going to nurture myself and take care of myself for 4 to 5 days. I went and did hot yoga at a new place, like 45 minutes away. I was like, why am I going to this place?
Yeah.
Just followed the nudge, did it. And I saw all these spirit animals on my drive. I saw all these angel numbers, had a great experience. Did sauna, cold plunge that week I fasted for 2 days. I did a water fast for 2 days. So these things that I was doing was shifting my vibration. It was changing my routines. I was eating for 2 days. And then eventually I was eating really clean. So your nervous system and your body work with your energy body.
Yeah.
So your energy body is your chakra system. So when we are feeling like I was feeling blocked in my chakras, and you and I are both energy healers, so we know when we're blocked, we'll have an ailment, we'll have our body talking to us. And for me to be exhausted doing the work that I love, that's a clear sign that I'm blocked. So I was doing all of these things to clear my field.
Yeah.
And when the field is clear, you're like this magical beacon. You're like this bright star that can magnetize anything super, super fast. So a lot of people intentionally will spend a whole week eating really, really clean or maybe fasting for a day or two. They go and do different routines. You're taking your body into different environments, you're around different people. And the other thing that I did was each night before bed, only 4 nights in a row, I just kept imagining a woman writing my name, Michelle Thornton, $50,000. Michelle
Wow.
Thornton, $50,000, then signing the check and then putting it in an envelope and she would hand it to me.
Oh,
And
amazing.
I was just playing with it. I was like, I don't know who this is going to be. This is going to be so cool if it happens, but who really writes checks anymore? Everybody
Yeah.
direct deposits, Venmos. So it was kind of wild that I just picked a check form, but I was like, let me just try this. So here I am. My vessel is completely empty of food.
Mm.
I did hot yoga. I've sweat out the toxins. I'm feeling like clear and I'm going to bed imagining that same scenario. I would only imagine a woman or somebody's hands writing my name. I literally would see it in my mind's eye and how they would write my name in cursive. I put the $50,000 and then I just remember seeing them quickly sign like initials at the bottom, stick it in an envelope, and then they would hand it to me. I shit you not, on January 13th. So this was December like 19th to like the 24th. It was right before Christmas. I did all of that. Then I let it go.
Yeah.
I was still off for work for Christmas. January 13th, a woman hands me a check, and I'm not going to give all the details of who it was and stuff. But it was a very generous gift. And literally, I get out of my Jeep, I walk up the driveway, and she comes out of the house and meets me and hands me the check in an envelope. Like
Oh my
the
God.
exact vision that I had. And I was like, I literally got in my car and I was like, is this real? I was like, I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. I'm like, I wish I would have told somebody. Nobody's going to believe me. It was like one of those moments where it was fireworks.
Yeah.
I also look back at my journal to see what signs I got that week. I hope I still have it. That would be cool to see what signs came in like the first
Yeah.
week in January. But it was January 13th. It was a Friday. I'll never forget it. So just
Yeah.
a few, 3 weeks later, boom. And I was manifesting 50. So I only got 25, but still, that's pretty awesome. And it was
Yeah.
great support during that time because I needed them. Um, but those like intentional conscious manifestations can happen fast if we prepare the vessel. And
Yeah.
if we have, like, I had no doubt, I had no attachment to it. I wasn't clinging to it. And I know you can relate to this. Like, let's
Yeah.
just say, like, we always just play. You and I always DM each other and we're like, let's see what we can create, or you can manifest your way out of that. Like, don't settle for that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
We
it's one of
relate.
my most favorite stories because it
Yeah.
happened fast. It was a bigger amount. And it came in the exact way that I imagined it, which manifestation doesn't always happen that way. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I remember that time actually when you had told me and just like when you had taken that time off as well, and then the 25K it came, I just remember thinking like, wow, oh my God, like
Mhm.
how is this possible? I guess this is similar to how I felt with the apartment, like, like, is this for real? Like, are there like strings attached or something? That's what I was looking for, like what is happening? But then um yeah, sometimes there's just not. It's just a
Yeah.
gift which comes in because we've prepared ourselves for um just having more and handling more and preparing a nervous system to be able to have more. Yeah, that's a beautiful story because it's funny you mentioned all those signs because I'm fasting right now. Yeah, so it's we'll see what comes in, in a couple of days, weeks, or what happens. And it's and I did that because I think it probably was from one of your videos where you had mentioned how preparing the vessel is so important. And I think it's, yeah, you're right. As being energy healers, it's just everything is really, really, key based on how well we take care of our bodies and, what we can allow ourselves to handle. So it's preparing the vessel, yeah, is a big, big one, I think. Yeah. And
And I think,
no, no, no.
um, I was just going to say, I think that like it's wild how we have to go through the drought,
Yeah.
like the phase before, like in order for us, like you getting that apartment and then us being like, okay, let's manifest something more, if we want to keep like expanding and to be able to hold more, if we can see, I think I was saying this earlier, and I don't know if I finished my thought, but if we can see our manifestations as a miracle, right? And it's this big ball of light, we have to be able to hold it. And if it seems big to us, then that means our body has to be more open. And
Yeah.
that might mean we have to, like, this is a big thing for me, is I have to make sure that I am not communicating in gossip. I'm not communicating in judgment. I'm not, and I'm usually not, but sometimes I can just go along with what other people are saying
Yeah.
and just like leaving the conversation. So I now, I'm however many years in, it took me a while to learn this, that I wasn't realizing that me just being a listener in those conversations affects my vibration.
Yeah.
It's really not what God would want us to be sitting by and watching and listening to. We don't want to be criticizing other people and judging other people. So when we're doing that, we're blocking that ball of light from being able to come in because we're not in love. We're not open. We're not being the light. We're, if anything, the opposite.
Mm.
So, how we are being in life in other areas, how are we being with our finances, with our partner, with our kids? Are we accepting poor treatment at the job that we're at? If we're not speaking our truth and using that throat chakra, that will block that miracle light from coming in. So, cleaning up the other side of the street and making sure your vessel is open for the miracle, that's what we'll call these things in faster. So it's almost like being alone, and like really picking and choosing, like, all right, who am I going to interact with this week? Who feeds me? Who supports me? And if anybody starts talking about anybody else, let me just pull my energy back and not listen to it this week.
Yeah.
And that's a great practice to choose to not be in that. It's like fear-based energy, to
Yeah.
be judgment. Were you going to say something there?
No, no, it just resonated so heavily. Like, because even before my apartment came, I remember I was on a vacation and I was literally by the sea or in the city. I was not in my normal environment, where it was quite toxic. I do feel like if I had been there and not been on my vacation, it would have been maybe there would have been resistance because I would have just like taken on other people's, worries or things. But that time off was exactly what I needed to lift up that vibration so that I could receive the manifestation. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Yeah.
They say vacation is a prime time for, it's usually like the week before something big comes in. So if you're on a vacation right now listening to this, or you're planning a vacation, just expect something to come in after it, like
Yeah.
when you get home from the vacation, because your vessel is like resting. You're on vacation, you're in a new environment, you're feeling different, your vibration's different, you're normally happy on vacation. So
Yeah.
of course a manifestation has an opportunity to come in now, because our like we're prepared for it. And it's
Yeah.
like, a lot of people don't connect it. Anytime anybody gets a manifestation, I'm like, what'd you do the week before? I'm
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
a nerd. I was like trying to like decipher the signs, and it's just my passion, but it is so cool to see how it works differently to different people.
Mm.
And normally it is like that calm energy. You feel good, your vibration is different. And I do believe, I thought about that when you were telling your story earlier. I was like, oh, I forgot she went on vacation. That's probably what called it in.
Yeah.
You know, it is that simple shift. It can be as something as simple as just choosing to fast. You can call in a manifestation faster by doing that. I
Yeah.
think it's I think it's just committing, having certainty, and like releasing the attachment around it. And I believe we can create our miracles if they're destined for us. I know a lot of people are still manifesting $1 million and it hasn't shown up in like 30 years. And I'm like, maybe that's not a part of your path. Maybe you should like really detach from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't really
Absolutely.
know what's ahead for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, I feel like there was so many nuggets of such, such wisdom right there when we just talked and shared experiences. And I feel like we covered quite a lot. And I feel like maybe the listeners have now got that excitement to go manifest what they want and spot the signs and maybe even get a calendar. I need to do this actually because there are days where I'm like, oh my God, why isn't it here? And that's when the signs really do help and kind of noticing, oh, actually, right before that, even just this conversation, just kind of going over the our paths and just me looking back at that story, I'm just like, oh, it did come before, so it can easily come again. So, oh, this was so enjoyable, so enjoyable. Um, and yeah, thank you so much for sharing this and thank you so much for doing this as well.
Yeah, this is going to be such a little treasured memory for us.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
podcast and us being one of the episodes because you guys, we sit on Zoom a lot and talk in our DMs. We send voice memos all the time, so it's fun
yeah,
to do this in a formal setting and just give people a glimpse of our friendship and what we just talk about on the daily. We talk about science, we talk about manifesting, and Avi is such an advocate for being in your power, and knowing that you can create your reality. So if anybody's looking for that type of guidance, that type of coaching, energy work, she is incredible. She's helped me so many times, and we still have to do a reading together. I
yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, we barter sometimes. So I can't wait to connect with you on that. But thank you so much for having me on. I hope all of your listeners love this as much as I did. I just love sharing
Absolutely.
space with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel the exact same way. And it's so wonderful to have, a friend, yeah, going back full circle where we started with the full, like, having just the right friends who kind of hold you accountable, push you forward is like the key. It's I'm so grateful for that, because often you do go into your doubts, but having those friends who kind of lift you up is it just makes things so much better and allows things to come in as well. So this has been great. I'll share all your details as well, what you do and everything that you've shared here. And yeah, thank you so much.